Welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanzeeba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Biden campaign casts Trump as threat to democracy ahead of a speech on January 6th anniversary. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. qualifies for presidential ballot in Utah, the first state to grant him access. Vivek Ramaswamy completes double tour of every Iowa county. U.S. national debt hits record $34 trillion as Congress gears up for funding fight. Imam shot outside his New York NJ mosque has died, sources say. Four children killed as a fire tears through a multifamily home in Connecticut. California mother says 10-year-old fatally shot her son, also 10, after losing bike race. "103 killed in terrorist attacks in Iran. Russia and Ukraine exchange hundreds of prisoners of war in biggest release so far. Israel's Mossad chief vows to hunt down Hamas members a day after senior figure killed in a strike. Taiwan detects 4 Chinese balloons ahead of election. Kohli re-enters Test top 10 after runs in South Africa. And tickets for Ronaldo's China tour sell out in hours. You are listening to Headlines Now News in detail. President Joe Biden will cast former President Donald Trump as a threat to democracy Saturday in a speech set to be delivered on the third anniversary of the January 6 insurrection, the Biden campaign said this week. The speech is expected to be a key component of the campaign's efforts to highlight the stakes of the presidential election, one that's shaping up to be a rematch of the 2020 contest. On a call with reporters announcing Saturday's event, campaign officials used dire terms in warning against a potential Trump victory. Communications Director Michael Tyler said that if Trump wins in November, he will use all of his power to systematically dismantle and destroy our democracy. Campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez added, "Our message is clear and it is simple. We are running a campaign like the fate of our democracy depends on it, because it does." Biden will deliver his remarks in the Philadelphia area near Valley Forge, a historic Revolutionary War site where George Washington worked to rally troops into a unified army in the late 1770s. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has collected enough signatures to appear on the 2024 presidential ballot in Utah, election officials say, marking the first state where the independent candidate and prominent anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist has qualified. Kennedy has made the 1,000-signature requirement needed to qualify for the Utah ballot and can officially file to run as a presidential candidate in the state before a March 5 deadline. State Elections Director Ryan Cowley said, "Utah is the first state where Kennedy's campaign submitted signatures and qualified for ballot access." Campaign spokesperson Stephanie Spear said she did not indicate which day he would file for candidacy. A scion of one of the nation's most famous democratic dynasties, the longtime environmental lawyer veered from the party last fall and announced his independent bid for the White House. He is a son of former Senator and U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy and a nephew of Democratic President John F. Kennedy. The candidate rose to prominence during the COVID-19 pandemic for his embrace of public health conspiracy theories and has a loyal following of people who reject the scientific consensus that vaccines are safe and effective. His success at gaining ballot access in Utah reignites questions of whether the independent could play a spoiler for the eventual Democratic and Republican nominees. While it's unlikely that an independent or a third-party candidate would win the presidency, they could siphon support from the major candidates in a way that tips the scales. GOP presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy celebrated having hosted at least 2 events in each of Iowa's 99 counties Tuesday evening, putting a flourish on a campaign strategy that's leaning on a blistering campaign trail pace to budge single-digit poll numbers. The all-county tour, dubbed the Full Grassley after Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, has become a staple of campaigning in the caucus state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has also visited every county in the state, but Ramaswamy completed the circuit twice with just weeks to go before the January 15 caucuses. Ramaswamy also received an endorsement at the town hall from former Representative Steve King, who delivered his backing in a video message. "The strongest person we have to defend the Constitution and America's destiny is Vivek Ramaswamy," said King, beaming in on a projector to make the announcement. King, a controversial figure who lost his seat to a Republican primary challenger in 2020 amid broad backlash for making racist remarks, found common cause with Ramaswamy over the protest of the potential use of eminent domain to build carbon capture pipelines on private land in Iowa. The federal government's gross national debt has surpassed $34 trillion, a record high that foreshadows the coming political and economic challenges to improve America's balance sheet in the coming years. The U.S. Treasury Department issued a report Tuesday logging U.S. finances, which have become a source of tension in a politically divided Washington that could possibly see parts of the government shut down without an annual budget in place. Republican lawmakers and the White House agreed last June to temporarily lift the nation's debt limit, staving off the risk of what would be a historic default. That agreement lasts until January 2025. Police are searching for a gunman who fatally shot an imam outside his mosque in Newark, New Jersey on Wednesday, an incident that heightened fears in the Muslim community amid increased tension in the U.S. since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. The shooting, which does not appear to be motivated by bias, occurred around 6:15 a.m. at South Orange Avenue and Camden Street, New York Public Safety Director Fritz Frage told. Hassan Sharif, an imam at the Masjid Muhammad in New York, was hospitalized in critical condition. He died from his injuries around 2:20 p.m., law enforcement sources said. Acting Essex County Prosecutor Theodore Stephens told reporters Wednesday afternoon that Sharif was shot more than once. At a time when bias incidents against members of the Muslim community are on the rise, we know that this act of gun violence will heighten fears and concerns in our state, New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin said in a statement. He added that every possible angle will, of course, be explored and every lead will be fully investigated. 4 children died Tuesday night in a fire that broke out in a 2-family home in the northeastern Connecticut town of Somers. The children, ages 5, 6, 8, and 12, were found inside the house where 11 people lived, fire and town officials said. The fire broke out at about 10:30 p.m. and by the time fire crews arrived, Flames were showing from windows in both the first and second floors, Town Fire Chief John Roche said. At least one person jumped from a window to escape the blaze. Roche said fire crews had a difficult time getting inside the home because a back entrance was blocked and flames prevented entry through the front door. Roche said several other victims were taken to local hospitals. It was not clear Wednesday how many people were in the house at the time of the fire, how many were injured, or the extent of those injuries. A 10-year-old California boy who was shot over the weekend died because the shooter, also said to be 10 years old, angrily opened fire after losing a bicycle race, the victim's mother said Tuesday. The shooter was being a sore loser after the informal race late Saturday afternoon in Foothill Farms, a community about 16 miles northeast of Sacramento, and consequently shot and killed KJ Frierson, said KJ's mother, Brittany Frierson. She said she was basing her account on what she was told by a neighbor's child who was among the kids riding their bikes before the shooting. Frierson gave KJ permission to ride his bicycle, which he had begged for Christmas. Before the attack, she said. Less than 15 minutes later, she said she ran outside after neighbors began banging on her door and shouting that something had happened to her son. Authorities booked a suspect whose name was withheld because he is a juvenile on suspicion of murder. His father, Erkel Davis, was booked on suspicion of possession of a firearm by a felon, criminal storage of a firearm, carrying a stolen, loaded firearm in a vehicle, child endangerment, and acting as an accessory to a crime after the fact, according to inmate records. We will be back after a short break. Till then, stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BT Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your fist. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. Now it's time for global updates. Two explosions caused by terrorist attacks killed more than 100 people and wounded scores at a ceremony in Iran to commemorate top commander Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in a 2020 US drone attack, Iranian officials said today. The blasts, which state television called a terrorist attack, came with tensions running high in the Middle East a day after Hamas number 2 Saleh al-Aruri, an Iran ally, was killed in a Beirut drone strike, which Lebanese officials blamed on Israel. Iranian state television reported a first and then a second explosion during an anniversary event at the cemetery where Soleimani is buried in the southeastern city of Kerman. The number of people killed rose to 103 following the death of people injured during the terrorist explosions, the official IRNA news agency said. IRNA said 141 people were wounded in the blasts, with some in critical condition. The blasts were caused by terrorist attacks, state media quoted a local official in the Kerman province as saying. State TV showed Red Crescent rescuers attending to wounded people at the ceremony, where hundreds of Iranians had gathered to mark the anniversary of Soleimani's death. Some Iranian news agencies said the number of wounded people was much higher. Russia and Ukraine on Wednesday exchanged hundreds of prisoners of war under a deal sponsored by the United Arab Emirates. Ukrainian authorities said that 230 Ukrainian prisoners of war returned home. Russia's defense ministry said that 248 Russian servicemen have been freed from Ukrainian captivity. The ministry said that the deal was made possible thanks to mediatory efforts by the United Arab Emirates. There was no immediate acknowledgement from the UAE, which has maintained close business ties to Moscow throughout Russia's war on Ukraine. The massive prisoner exchange followed other such deals earlier in the war, which is nearing the two-year mark. Also, Wednesday, Russia said it shot down 12 missiles fired at one of its southern regions bordering Ukraine, as Kiev's forces seek to embarrass the Kremlin and puncture President Vladimir Putin's argument that life is going on as normal despite the 22-month war. The situation in the border city of Belgorod, which came under 2 rounds of shelling on Wednesday morning, remains tense, said Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov, writing on Telegram. The chief of Israel's Mossad intelligence service vowed Wednesday that the agency would hunt down every Hamas member involved in the October 7 attack on Israel, no matter where they are. His pledge came a day after the deputy head of the Palestinian militant group was killed in a suspected Israeli strike in Beirut. Israel has refused to comment on reports it carried out the killing, but the comments by David Bernie appeared to be the strongest indication yet it was behind the blast. He made a comparison to the aftermath of 1972 Munich massacre, when Mossad agents tracked down and killed a string of Palestinian militants involved in killing Israeli athletes at that year's Olympic Games. Israel was on high alert Wednesday for an escalation with Lebanon's powerful Hezbollah militia after the strike in the Lebanese capital killed Saleh Arori, the most senior Hamas member slain since the war in Gaza erupted nearly 3 months ago. The implications of the killing for the war remain unclear. Israel has killed several top Hamas leaders over the years, only to see them quickly replaced. The strike in Hezbollah's southern Beirut stronghold could cause the low-intensity fighting along the Lebanon border to boil over into all-out war. 4 Chinese balloons were detected moving across the median line separating Taiwan from China, with 3 flying directly above the island, Taipei's defense ministry said Wednesday. A graphic released by the ministry showed 3 balloons headed northeast above Taiwan after appearing southwest of Qingchuan-Kang, home to a military airbase in the western city of Taichung. The lowest altitude measured for one of them was 12,000 feet. Tuesday's balloon incidents came less than 2 weeks before the self-ruled island will hold a pivotal election and was the second consecutive day such objects were detected above Taiwan. The ministry began reporting them for the first time in December, publicly identifying 6 incidents. It said Wednesday it was closely monitoring and will take appropriate measures on the balloons, depending on the nature, altitude, and possible hazards of the targets. We will be back after a short break. Till then, stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, worldwide Jago BT network and Horizon satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your fist. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 16,718.65. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 122.97 points or 0.73%. Tokyo stock close price is 33,464.17. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 75.45 points or 0.23%. Shanghai stock close price is 2,967.25. The Shanghai index is increased by 4.97 points or 0.17%. Hong Kong stock close price is 16,646.41. The Hang Seng index is decreased by 142.14 points or 0.85%. Bombay stock close price is 71,356.60. The Sensex index is decreased by 535.88 points or 0.75%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. India's Virat Kohli has brought in the new year by moving back into the top 10 of the MRF Tires ICC player rankings, climbing to 9th after the latest update on Wednesday. Kohli's 38 and 76 in India's defeat to South Africa was enough for the 35-year-old to move 4 places, positioned as the top India batter in the list. On the other side, Proteas stalwart Dean Elgar will likely bow out as a top 20 batter after his exploits in the first test in Centurion, climbing 19 places to 17th ahead of his final appearance. Elgar is stuck an imperious 185 against the tourists to set up an innings victory, helping the Proteas to 12 World Test Championship points in the process. New Zealand's Ken Williamson still holds a marginal lead from Joe Root, with Australia's Steve Smith in third, looking to climb during the Sydney Test beginning on Wednesday. India batter Virat Kohli has been a fan favorite throughout his illustrious career and reveals the impact crowds can have on all players during the ICC World Test Championship final. Chinese football fans raced on Wednesday to snap up tickets to see Cristiano Ronaldo play a rare match in their home country, with multiple online platforms selling out within a few hours. Ronaldo is immensely popular in football-mad China, where many supporters have grown weary of dismal national team performances and the corruption-ridden domestic game. The Portuguese star's current club, Saudi Arabia's Al Nassr, last month announced a China tour featuring friendlies against Shanghai Shenhua and Zhejiang FC in the southern city of Shenzhen on January 24 and 28 respectively. Fans frantically vied with each other as the coveted tickets went on sale online a little after 11 a.m. on Wednesday, with multiple platforms showing no available tickets by the evening. Several media outlets reported that seats in all but the 2 most expensive categories had sold out within seconds. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. Before finishing today's news, let's hear out the headlines again. Biden campaign casts Trump as threat to democracy ahead of a speech on January 6th anniversary. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. qualifies for presidential ballot in Utah, the first state to grant him access. Vivek Ramaswamy completes double tour of every Iowa county. U.S. national debt hits record $34 trillion as Congress gears up for funding fight. Imam shot outside his New York NJ mosque has died, sources say. Four children killed as a fire tears through a multi-family home in Connecticut. California mother says 10-year-old fatally shot her son, also 10, after losing bike race. "103 killed in terrorist attacks in Iran." Russia and Ukraine exchange hundreds of prisoners of war in biggest release so far. Israel's Mossad chief vows to hunt down Hamas members a day after senior figure killed in a strike. Taiwan detects 4 Chinese balloons ahead of election. Kohli re-enters Test top 10 after runs in South Africa. And tickets for Ronaldo's China tour sell out in hours. That's all for today. Keep watching Millennium News Hour for latest news update. To stay updated, like our Facebook page, subscribe our YouTube channel and visit our website. Our website address is www.millenniumnews24.com. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all the latest news worldwide. Thank you.